Right, so earlier this evening I put out a video where the expectation is that Israel will lose their case against South Africa in The Hague and provisional orders will be granted by the court to end the ceasefire, amongst other things. And I talked about how the attack on Yemen by US and UK forces was something of a distraction, and also how it was a show of defiance against a judicial ruling they will in all likelihood flout. They aren't of course saying that, they are claiming they are defending global shipping, even though actually they are very much screwing it up with their activities in the Red Sea. But it's being read as a shot across the bowels of anyone who thinks they will take any notice of the ICJ. If they carry on, or escalate, the Red Sea will become impassable for everyone. But the West aren't stupid enough to overtly come out and say they'll just ignore the judicial ruling. But unfortunately for them, somebody else is stupid enough to come right out and say it. And that person has been Benjamin Netanyahu. Right, so whilst the US and UK are playing damage limitation for Israel, still committing genocide in Gaza by deciding to bomb Yemen ahead of an expected legal finding against Israel on charges of genocide, Benjamin Netanyahu took to TV to just come out and say, we're going to ignore the ruling. Nothing quite says we've already lost than that, does it? It ought to harden the resolve of the court judges, really, but they'll have to pretend he didn't say anything, though I suppose, having come out and said what he has, he can later accuse the court of being biased against Israel by taking into account things not said in the courtroom. Not that that will wash either. Well, Netanyahu took to Israeli TV last night to address the nation. A nation in Israel, a people growing in number, protesting his premiership, wanting him gone and a new set of elections held, but he's ignoring that as well. He went on TV to say, citizens of Israel, today we mark 100 days of the war. 100 days since the terrible day on which our citizens were massacred and taken hostage. We are continuing the war until the end, until total victory, until we achieve all of our goals, eliminating Hamas, returning all of our hostages, and ensuring that Gaza will never again constitute a threat to Israel. We will restore security to both the south and the north. Nobody will stop us. Not the Hague, not the axis of evil, and not anybody else. The hypocritical onslaught at The Hague against the state of the Jews that arose from the ashes of the Holocaust at the behest of those who came to perpetrate another Holocaust against the Jews is a moral low point in the history of nations. In the murder tunnels of Gaza, our forces have found copies of Hitler's Mein Kampf. In a home in Gaza, they found a child's tablet with a picture of Hitler as the screensaver. Not for nothing did German Chancellor Scholz, after viewing the atrocities of the October 7th massacre, say, Hamas are the new Nazis. Yesterday I spoke with Chancellor Scholz and I thanked him for Germany's willingness to send a delegation to The Hague to help refute this despicable lie. But see the depth of the absurdity and the hypocrisy. Supporters of the new Nazis dare to accuse us of genocide. Who do they support? Murderers, rapists, those who decapitate and those who burn babies? What brazen gall, what a disgrace. The State of Israel, the IDF and our security services are fighting a moral and just war that is without parallel against the Hamas monsters, the new Nazis. This international campaign of denigration will not weaken either our hand or our determination to fight until the end, because something has changed in the history of our people. The anti-Semitism is the same anti-Semitism, but the status of the Jewish people has fundamentally changed. Today we have a state. We have defence forces and heroic soldiers to protect our people. What happened on October 7th will not happen again. This is our mission, our obligation. Tomorrow we will submit a budget that will ensure the continuation of the war. More money, a lot more, for security. More compensation and grants for reservists, families, the self-employed, and for all who are bearing the burden. More assistance to return evacuees to their homes and for rebuilding the communities and the kibbutzim. We are on the path to victory. We will not stop until we achieve victory. We are doing this together to the end. I believe in our people, in our soldiers and commanders, and I believe that after the massacre of October 7th, we will not compromise on anything less than total victory. I say this on your behalf, to every world leader who I speak with. We will not compromise and we will not stop. We are continuing until victory. We have no other choice. In recent weeks, we have proven to Hamas and Hezbollah that every terrorist is a dead man, wherever they are. We are continuing to eliminate many terrorists, and we are doing so in two ways. In forceful military activity, in which most Hamas battalions have been eliminated, and clearing actions to eliminate additional terrorists left in the field, above and below ground. These actions take time. Several days ago I met with Secretary of State Blinken. I thanked him for the American assistance, and I emphasised to him, We are embarked on this war after we were massacred. We are not stopping. We are continuing until we eliminate Hamas and return our hostages. I told him something else. This is not just our war, it is also your war. This is the war of the sons of light against the sons of darkness. This is a war against the axis of evil led by Iran and its three proxies, Hezbollah, Hamas, and the Houthis. And I added, I do not forget, not even for a moment, that in addition to the war in Gaza, in addition to the return of our hostages and the return of the residents to their homes in both the north and south, we have another constant existential mission to prevent Iran from attaining nuclear weapons. This is my mission. This is our mission. I told Secretary of State Blinken, this needs to be your highest mission too. I embrace the families of the hostages with whom I and my wife meet all the time. These are personal, heart-rending meetings. We embrace them and listen to them. We look at the photos of their loved ones, our loved ones. I gave them a clear promise and I repeat it today. I will not give up on anyone. We are obligated to returning them all home. I embrace the wounded who have shown utmost heroism in the face of their war injuries. Every one of our fighters and commanders are true heroes who have given their souls to restore security to our country and return the residents to their homes. And so it will be. Absolutely insane. Nobody will stop us, not even the Hague. Well, nothing quite says we're a law-abiding, non-genocidal state, quite like saying, sod the law. But there we go. Not the axis of evil either, he said. Well, who be they then? But saying the World Court ruling against them won't stop the genocide is just off the charts nuts. You have to bear in mind that every country signed up to the Genocide Convention has a responsibility under that convention to uphold it. A court ruling under that convention places that responsibility on every country signed up to it. That's why the US and now the UK are in dire straits potentially for aiding and abetting in all of this. And they just doubled down on that when they took the fight to Yemen. But every other country signed up should in theory seek to enforce the ruling. Now whether they will or not is another matter. They may wish to not escalate matters militarily, but on the other hand, the more countries that do decide to go down that road, the closer we come to a more global conflict. And for what? Western powers refusing to hold Israel to account for committing a genocide, instead choosing to defend them over it and placing them on a pillar beyond all reproach. Such is the danger inherent of exceptions being made for any nation, like Israel has had made for it. Germany now seems set on implicating themselves as well, once more seemingly choosing the wrong side, because for some reason they think backing Israel, the Jewish state, given their history with the Jewish people, is what they have to do now. You aren't tainted by the sins of the past as long as people learn from it. Yet you're going down the wrong road here as if you haven't learned from it and are now backing the side committing genocide. The Nazi references against Hamas don't wash, and nor do claims of morality when so many civilians lie dead and are being killed still on a daily basis by Israeli forces. You have no claims to your war being just if a court rules against you and you claim to plan on ignoring them anyway. A new budget to keep the war going will be passed. I'm sure American citizens will be delighted to see their money once again being used for this. Though having told Blinken that Israel's war is now their war, there's no arguing that the US are up to their neck in trouble with their involvement here. In recent weeks, they've told Hamas and Hezbollah that every terrorist, wherever they are, is a dead man. Netanyahu said that. So is that a tacit admission to being responsible for the killing of Saleh al-Aruri in Beirut the other week? Kind of sounded like it. And then there was the threats to Iran too. Just keep picking more and more enemies around you, why don't you? It is becoming more and more obvious that regardless of the ruling the ICJ comes out with, and regardless of whether the UN votes to enforce it, nothing is actually going to change, and the whole situation in the Middle East is just becoming more and more unstable and dangerous. Netanyahu is off his rocker, and the US and UK, amongst others, are still choosing to stand with him, which is absolutely terrifying. And the leadership of both main parties in this country can't seem to agree to it fast enough, both seemingly intent on becoming complicit in all of this too, following the US unquestioningly as ever, as this video here will tell you all about. And I'll hopefully catch you on the next vid. Cheers, folks.